Thank you. I'm Mr. Lehner, and welcome back to another magical adventure on Mr. Lehner's Math Extravaganza. In today's webisode, we're going to take a look at multiplication with mixed numbers. I know every sixth grader's favorite thing to do is to work with fractions and mixed numbers, so here's a little more practice for you guys with multiplying our fractions and our mixed numbers. Let's not waste any more time. Let's take a look at our first example with Isabel. Isabel is tiling her new bedroom floor. The floor requires 12 rows of tiles with 14 1/3 tiles in each row. Show how many tiles Isabel will need. And we have our nice little pattern down here, some cute little hearts and stars. Well, I guess they're not hearts, they're stars. But she has some cute little stars there to put on her bedroom floor. Now, the nice thing about this example is that you can apply it to an everyday situation. If you're tiling a new floor, your bedroom, the kitchen, wherever you're going to tile something, maybe a tree house or a fort, a lot of times it's not going to come out exact. It's not going to be, 12 feet here or 6 inches there. It's going to be usually a fraction of a part or a part of a part. So here, each row is going to have 14 1/3 tiles. So if I have one row going across, I'm going to have 14 full tiles and then 1/3 of another tile there at the end. So let's see what we know. There's going to be 12 rows with 14 1/3 tiles in each row. I'm trying to find the total or the sum in this one. So if I'm trying to find the total and I have 12 rows, I can use multiplication here. There's two ways I'm going to show you on how to solve this problem. The first one is using the distributive property. I'm going to distribute the 12 to the 14 and the 12 to the 1/3. Then I'm going to add those together. So 12 times 14 would be 168 or 168 tiles because I did 12 times 14. And then 12 times 1/3 would be 4 tiles. And if I add those together, that's going to give me a total of 172 tiles that I need to tile Isabel's floor. Well, the amount that she's going to need, because hopefully I'm not doing the work for her. But Isabel is going to need 172 tiles to tile her floor because, again, I multiplied 12 times 14 1/3 to get 172. You may type that in your calculator, but make sure you're writing out your number sentence here to show your work. Here's a second way you could try this one. I believe some of you have called this the backward C that you've learned before. What I'm going to take a look here is 14 1/3. So I'm going to do 3 times 14, which would be 42, plus 1, which would be 43. 43/3. These are actually equivalent. One's an improper fraction on this side, and one's a mixed number. So 14 1/3 is the same thing as saying 43/3. But I don't know anybody that would go into the store and say, hey, yeah, I need 43/3 of tile. That wouldn't really make sense to say that. You'd say I need 14 full tiles, or if I was estimating, 15 full tiles to make sure that I had enough. Okay, so if I have 43/3, I can multiply that by 12. Remember, any number, say 12 over 1 is the same thing as 12. If I had 50, 50 over 1 is equal to 50. It's the same thing, I'm just putting it over 1. And we can multiply across. 12 times 43 would be 516, kind of a big number. And then 1 times 3 would be 3. So I would need 516/3 of tile for this bedroom. Now, that's kind of a difficult fraction to work with, but it's an improper fraction. 3 goes into 516 172 times, so I would know that I would need 172 full tiles to tile this bedroom. Again, either way works. Both ways will work. Choose which one is which one's easier for you to try in this problem. All right, let's move on. We have Bianca now. Bianca's going to bake us some delicious chocolate chip cookies. Okay, Bianca's making cookies. I already took a bite out of it. The recipe calls for 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar. If she makes 3.5 batches of cookies, how much brown sugar does she need? I know you got the pencil ready, you got your piece of paper ready to go. Go ahead and pause this video and see if we can figure out how much brown sugar Bianca's going to need. Alright, let's analyze this problem up here. I know that Bianca needs 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar for each batch of cookies. I know that she's making 3.5 batches of cookies, and I'm trying to find out how much brown sugar she needs. I'm going to need to multiply 3½ batches times 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar. Now there's going to be 2 steps in this first method. I'm still using the distributive property. I'm going to take the 3 and distribute it to the 1. I'm going to take the 3 and distribute it to the 1/4. But then I have a half here too. So I have to take the half, multiply it times the 1, and a half, and multiply it times 1/4 because I'm multiplying 3½ times 1 1/4. So let me show you what I mean. 3 times the 1 would be 3. Then I take the 3 times the 1/4, which is 3/4. Then I take the half. A half times 1 is a half. And a half times 1/4 would be 1/8. Well, now I have my fractions. I multiplied mine together. Well, what does this all mean now? Okay, well, I notice that I have a 1/4, a half, and an 1/8. And to make my life easier, I'm going to find a common denominator like we've talked about before in class. Okay, the least common denominator between 2, 4, and 8 is 8. So I'm going to change my other 2 fractions here into 8s. So 3, I'm going to leave 3, it's a whole number, it's fine. 3 plus, well, 3/4, an equivalent fraction to that would be 6/8. Or, I had to multiply 4 by 2 to get 8. I have to multiply a 3 by 2 to get 6. Then I look at a half. A half would be 4/8, or 2 times 4 would give me 8. So 4 times 1 would give me 4. The last one's already an 1/8, so I'm just going to leave it as 1/8. Now let's add up our total. I have 6/8 plus 4/8 plus 1/8 would be, and the 3 whole here, would be 3 11/8. Well, I can rename 11/8. 8 goes into 11 1 full time, so that's 1 full time plus the 3 here gives me 4, and there was 3 left over. So there's 4 3/8 what? Cups of brown sugar. So when Bianca's making her cookies, if she's making 3½ batches of cookies, and it takes 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar for each batch, when I multiply them together, I know to make 3½ batches, she's going to need 4 3/8 cups of brown sugar. Again, if I was going to the store, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to keep going back and forth, especially when it's like, 15 degrees outside, snow on the ground. I want to make one trip, get what I need to come back home. So if I know that I need 4 3/8 cups, I might make sure that I have over 5 cups of brown sugar for my ingredients for, again, our delicious cookies over here. Let's take a look at that second method. In this one, it might be a little bit easier to try that backward C some of you guys have told me about. Okay, so 1 1/4. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That becomes 5/4. 3½. 2 times 3 would be 6, plus 1 would be 7, becomes 7/2. Multiply my numerators. 5 times 7 is 35. Multiply my denominators. 4 times 2 is 8. So I have 35/8. 8 goes into 35 4 times, with 3 out of 8 left over. So sometimes that one might be easier to use depending upon the problem. But again, choose whichever one is most comfortable for who? For you. Thank you for tuning into another delicious episode of Mr. Lander's Math Extravaganza. As always, we'll see you next time.